Hello everyone. Today I have Ankush Chopra, who is an AI COE of Trident with me. And Ankush, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. So I think it's your second day in Cypher, and yesterday also I've seen you. So how is the vibe? And I also attended your sessions, was pretty good. So how it is going until now for you?
I think it's quite amazing. I see a lot of companies that have come here. They are showcasing their solution. They're talking about the future vision, and it's so energetic. I see the young crowd as well here, quite interested in the new technologies and things like AI, right? And it's just so good to see all that.
Amazing, amazing. And in your session, you were talking about AI agents, and also, so I have a question because you see there is so much of hype about AI, and currently we have the hype about AI agents. So when we talk about we can AI agents can do this and that, and when it comes to production, the gap looks pretty much. So what do you think what it takes for a company to reach that milestone where you can actually deploy those AI agents and where you can start seeing the ROI?
Right. What I feel is, yes, there is some hype, but then there is some reality to the hype as well. The current models are quite capable, and agents, if they are purpose built and narrowly defined, can work very well. Now, when we talk about going into production, we also have to make sure that we have performed the enough testing, and the evaluation of the agents have made sure that they are performing above a certain threshold of accuracy. And then post that, we have to make sure that they are deployed in a fashion that can scale horizontally as per the need. You use the stateless containerized services and so on. So you perform the evaluation, you make sure that they are capable in the situation where rubber hits the road. You've tested it on the domain data, and then in the deployment you use stateless orchestration, so that when you have a surge of users, suddenly the system should be able to sustain that and not really just fail.
And also, you mentioned about Milky Way of Tridents, and how you guys are applying a lot of agents. It's an orchestration of agents for
Yeah.
different things. So if you can talk to me a little bit about the ecosystem that you have created
Mhm.
and how Milky Way is adding value to the business and to the evolving AI, I would say, that is coming up.
That's yeah, question quite packed one. So let's first talk about what are different agents that we have and how we've created this, and then we will talk about the business value realization. So the Milky Way, the vision of Milky Way is of to build a system, or something that we've already built, is to create a system that can help you bring up the insights copilot very fast. Now, what do I mean by that? What we see right now is there is a lot of data with each and every company, but we do not have enough time and resources to analyze the data because there is a human bottleneck. You need people to sort of do that. What we've tried to do as a Trident, by the way, we have a 13-year experience in delivering the AI and analytics services. So we've used that expertise and come up with the right way of solving these analytics problem, and we have then inculcated, imbibed that knowledge in these agents. Now, as I was saying in the talk as well, that you can't have just one agent do all. So like in a normal analysis, you would have certain tasks that are defined, that are mutually exclusive but connected. So we have defined the agents just like that. We start off by using some domain agent that can add some more information to the original user question. Post that, we have something like a data sufficiency agent that would just check in the metadata whether the answer can be provided to the question or not. Then we have agents that write SQL, write Python, and understand if the data is sufficient for testing a hypothesis. So that way we have the whole gamut of agents. We have a very large library with more than 50 agents available that are either aligned to one of these business processes or verticals or domains. And just by putting these together, we can create a copilot from scratch very quickly for any domain. We have come up with an orchestrator called ReasonX that is sort of a backbone and a mind behind how the flow happens. So the ReasonX becomes center part of all our agentic insights pilot deployment, or copilot deployment, and helps us do this very fast, very efficiently. Now, coming to the business value realization part, Currently, as we know, there is a lot of data, but we are not able to analyze. Now, here there is a point about the unknown. You don't even know how much you're losing out because you're not really looking into the data. So, with Milky Way, it gives you simple and fast interface of testing multiple hypotheses, and you just have to have the business question. Based on Tridence's knowledge of solving these questions, we will propose hypothesis. Now we have been doing this for 13 years. We know that we are very good at it, but we also know that business landscape keeps changing. So we have made sure that this works as a co-pilot, and it is possible for you to add hypotheses, add new angles to the analysis, and run an analysis that you feel is complete and necessary for your business. Now, when you have capability of doing this in 20 minutes instead of 3 weeks or 5 weeks, you start seeing the value right then and there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. And just a question that I have in mind, like in entire, building a co-pilot from the scratch, how much of human in the loop is required?
Yeah, good. That's a great question again. So if we have to build or deploy it for a new organization, a new client, depending on the data readiness, and now as we see that most of the organizations keep the data very readily available for the analysis. So it takes somewhere around 8 to 10 weeks for us to sort of deploy the whole Milky Way system and make it running in their production environment. So it's not too much of a time. It probably is the time that you would take run 3 questions today, and in that amount of time you will have a system that would run those 3 questions in 1 hour.
So very less time and
Yeah.
maximum,
Yes.
efficacy that you can see.
Yes.
So coming to that, when you were coming up with Milky Way and the entire concept of orchestrating it from the from the scratch, like you mentioned, what are the challenges did you see, and what are the challenges that Milky Way can solve or is about to solve for a lot of people?
Right. So challenges that we saw during the development, I will tackle that first. So uh, this idea that we are talking about, it goes beyond the simple text to SQL system. It sort of works and thinks with you, thinks with the analyst. So we had to first sort of chart out the way an analyst works, and then figure out the places where AI can sort of play a supporting role, or some places where AI can just take over completely. We had to first identify these spots and places. Once we were done with that, then we had to start basically building these components, because as we were discussing, you can't just have one thing doing all of it. Now when we are designing some of these things, although the technology is quite good that is available out there, and LLMs are becoming smarter every day, there are certain things that are just not available with the packages and the models that are available. So we had to build a lot of custom enhancements and custom libraries to make certain things like detours possible. But once we had the process laid out well and we knew what to build, then it became more of an engineering challenge, and we sort of solved those one by one to get to the place where we are today. Now, the vision of the Milky Way is to sort of become a system that organizations use to know what happened, what is happening, and what could happen, but additionally what we could do differently to reach to a better place. So it will provide you with the diagnostic, descriptive, prescriptive, and predictive analytics and the modeling results.
I think that's a huge gamut, end-to-end that you are covering
Yes.
with Milky Way, and I think that's amazing. So, what kind of feedback loops that allow the agents to continuously refine their decision models?
That's a great question again. So the feedbacks we have sort of baked in this is almost at every place. Now, what we don't want is user to provide thumbs up and thumbs down at every place, because that becomes a little tiring, and we would start to see that that is not getting provided, or sometimes when you force people to do that, the feedback may not even remain feedback honest after a time. So what we've done is basically we have started recording all the data, and then we have figured out a way of recording implicit feedback. To give you an example, that if there is a question of why is my revenue going down, and if system asks 5 clarifying questions to the analyst, and analyst chooses not to answer 1 or 2 questions almost always, we know over time that these questions probably are not as interesting or relevant to the business, and then we start to not show those. Similarly, if we show a list of hypotheses and we see that a user deletes 2 hypotheses almost always and adds 1 extra, and then there is some commonality. So these are not explicit feedback. These are just the usage of system, but we take that as implicit feedback and then use that data to make systems smarter for tomorrow and for all other users.
Amazing, amazing. And when it comes to ambiguity and uncertainty, how do you tackle that when you are dealing with incomplete data?
That's a good question. So in the solution that we have today, when you have a list of hypotheses, for each hypothesis, okay, by the way, the hypothesis list is created using a first principle thinking, where we do not actually look at the data first. We just try to figure out all possible reasons why a certain business phenomena might be happening. Now we show that to user, and user can sub-select or add some more hypotheses there. Once they do that, we go and look for the availability of data for all of these. Now, if the data is, let's say user has selected 5 hypotheses and the data is available for 3 of those. For the remaining 2, we show what is not available, right? So that sort of gives user an idea about why certain things cannot be tested. But in a way, it's a call to action, saying that you have these crucial data pieces missing. Maybe you should acquire these and make it available to the system so that you can have a more well-rounded analysis being run.
So I think that is solving the problem of a lot of siloed data that is there with, I think, most of the organizations, and that has been a problem right now when they are consolidating their data, because data in different formats and siloed version, and I think Milky Way can do a good job in that.
Yes, it helps you see the data gaps, and sometimes that gap that you see may be just sitting somewhere else. So it sort of let you see the gaps, the disconnects that you have in your current data system, and then sort of gives you a call to action to fix all these things.
And also, when we are talking about data and so much about data, we cannot let go without this, that what governance or guardrails are being embedded to ensure ethical and compliant decision making.
Right. So we take responsible AI very seriously. Like I was mentioning, that we follow certain principles. We follow this principle of least knowledge, where we would give agents access to only data that they required to perform some analysis. We perform RBACs, so the role-based access control. So if you as a user do not have access to certain data, you will never see that data. And in all the inputs and outputs, we have put layers for the toxicity and hallucination detection. Hallucination obviously on the output, but the toxicity and other checks are placed to make sure that system's output is in line with your organization's policies, and also we make sure that the inputs are also monitored to make sure that system is not being misused.
And when we talk about AI agents and a system like Milky Way, where you have a lot of specialized agents, so can Milky Way detect and resolve conflicts between different specialized agents?
Yeah, so the way it works is the ReasonX allocates a job to a particular agent, assigns a job to a particular agent. Once that job is done, when we say job is done, it could finish successfully or it could fail. The same output goes to ReasonX, and then based on that, it decides where the next execution should happen. Now, if the system has failed by providing certain reasons of missing input, we could in fact reach out to humans saying, this particular piece of input is missing. Can you help me with this so that I can move forward? So this intelligence has been baked in. If there is an issue with the input, if something is missing, then ReasonX sort of figures out whom to reach out, which agent or human to reach out, resolve the conflict or resolve the information deficiency, and then move forward.
So what I understood, that human is always there in the loop.
So we are calling it a co-pilot. So we say, I mean, obviously the human has to be in the loop. The idea is to provide us some kind of slider, what we call as an autonomy slider, in coming upcoming versions, where you can have a slider to the extreme left, where the human involvement is the most, and then you can have it in extreme right, where user just submits a question as a batch process, as a job over the email, and the system runs completely by taking certain assumptions if certain information is missing and provides you with the output. So the idea is to have a system that can work as a co-pilot, but in future it could just be a pilot.
We are moving towards, an age or in years to come, maybe we don't need a human in the loop.
We would learn from the human usage that is happening right now, and that learning will help us enable a complete autonomous system. The complete autonomy can be brought in again for certain questions, but certain questions that are more complex and need human involvement obviously would need human involvement even in future.
So, what are your takes on future with AI agents and the speed at which we are progressing right at this point? How do you see the future?
Yeah, I see that things that are repeatable, that can be sort of created in a process map, the things that you can identify uh, and model as something that one would run time and over again, and with the right set of controls on hallucination and the output quality, we would be able to automate that. Having human in loop always would help, because the business, the scenario keeps changing, and AI, while it has information and also has the expertise of all our consulting capability, certain things that are specific to, let's say, something that is happening yesterday or happened yesterday, if human provides that input, the system would be able to sort of perform even better. So systems are going to become smarter and smarter, and are going to aid human more and more, and taking certain load of repetitive tasks from them and freeing up their time for doing more creative thinking, providing the right input to the system so that it can perform optimally and help businesses well.
Amazing, amazing. And one last question. What do you see, what one advice you will give to the aspiring AI experts and people who are, going to work more and more with AI agents and, technologies like this?
Yeah. So people who are working in AI and sort of trying to build agents or agentic systems, what I would say is always look at the process that you want to first convert as an agentic system. Understand that process thoroughly. Break it down into the small pieces, small individual independent pieces, and then start to think where you need agent, what can be just done using workflow, where a knife can work, don't take a revolver, is what I would say. So a truly agentic system may not have all the components that are agents. Some of these could just be LLM calls. So to make sure that you're using LLMs right, getting the right performance with the minimal cost, understand the process well. Then identify what all needs agent, what kind of agents, figure out the orchestration, and then move forward. If you don't understand the process as a human first, then creating any system that works optimally is going to be a little difficult.
Amazing, amazing. I think that's the best advice that you can give to anybody, and I think it's very important that for us to understand what AI is capable of and incapable of. And thank you so much, Ankush, for joining me today. It's amazing having you at Cypher, and yes, and it was a wonderful chat with you.
Same here. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.